my nibbling, Aurora and I finished these cake drawings. We did the background and the shadow. We're gonna show you how to do the background and the shadow. Yay! Hello, my talented artists. If you love this content, be sure to subscribe. We are going to start by coloring in the background. And what I want you to think about is that the cake should be the star of the show. So the background should be very different from the cake. We want a high contrast between the cake and the background. And there's lots of ways to create contrast. Do you know ways to create contrast?
You can have like contrasting colors, or like one part be lighter than the rest.
Right, so that's color and value. So lighter means value. Value is the lightness or darkness of a color. In artwork, there are many ways that contrast is created. You can create contrast with texture, pattern, size, line, shape. In fact, whenever you put anything next to anything else, it creates contrast. Take a look at these two cats. What do you see that contrasts between the two of them? What is different? Because remember, contrast just means difference. Pause to discuss. Color. Do you know how to get the most contrasting color?
It's like on the color wheel.
Right.
It's like you have a primary color and the secondary color that doesn't have that primary color in it.
That's true. And do you know where it's located on the color wheel?
Opposite sides.
Correct. They are directly opposite each other on the color wheel. Those color pairs have a special name. They are called complementary colors. If I want the most contrasting color to my yellow cake, it would be, go ahead and call it out. What's the complement to yellow? That's right, purple. Or maybe you want a background with contrasting value. The general value of my cake is light, so I could create a dark background that would contrast. To create contrast between your cake and your background, what do you think you might want to choose for this background part?
I would do probably like a light green or yellow, because like it contrasts to like the light and dark because of the value, and it contrasts the lighter part because of the color.
So it sounds like you're planning on using value to create contrast. Blue and green are next to each other on the color wheel, and they are low contrast. They harmonize. Low contrast is a great artistic choice as well. Just remember that your job is to make sure that you pick one way to create high contrast between the background and the cake. Since most of my cake is light value, I'm going to create a dark background. And also, since my cake is warm, I'll use a cool color. So let's pick 2 oil pastels for the background. What 2 are you gonna?
This one.
Green. Yeah, and you can do more than 2 if you want. So I think
a little bit of this one.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick the dark blue, and I might want to mute it with a little gray. Let's make sure that we're not going to draw over our cake by picking one of the more neutral or lighter colors and just outline the border between. Oh, I'm already going over my cake. I better be careful. You can always neaten up by going back over your cake with the color it's supposed to be, or scrape it with your fingernail. We know we can scrape off oil pastel, especially if there's oil pastel underneath it. And I'm going to outline this background line here. Another way to create contrast is texture. Horizontal lines and the contour curved lines. So maybe I'll just do vertical lines. Or you could do scribbles, or you could do X's, or some kind of contrasting texture. We create texture by repeating a line or a shape over and over. Be sure to use both of your oil pastels that you chose for your background. The important thing is to get all those white spots. I see when you begin, of course, you have lots of little white spots. And the goal is to make it look like a finished artwork. You want to Wait a second, Aurora. You cannot blend with your fingers. I've asked my students not to blend with their fingers because everybody wants to blend with their fingers. I'm actually glad you did it as a reminder. So what I want you to do is pick a lighter color to blend with. For instance, if you want it to be yellow, if you want yellow in it, blend with yellow. Or you could do the green, you could blend with green. When using oil pastels, do not blend with your finger. Blend with an oil pastel. If you're worried about it becoming too dark, use a lighter color. If you're worried about it becoming too light, use a medium color. You can do it, folks. No blending with your fingers. I have all these vertical lines, so I'm going to change it by doing that nice little circle motion and see what happens. This will blend my colors. The goal is to cover your paper with oil pastel, a nice thick layer. So you are a white spot detective. We got to find all those white spots and cover them. Here is the trash can. See, it's our little trash can. We need to sweep our little oil pastel nubs, our crumbs, into the trash can. Keep our area or work area clean. Oops, I already got some of the blue on my cake. I don't want that. Scrape it off. And we can sweep our table a little bit. Go ahead and clean up as you go. Once you finish an area, you don't want to sweep it onto anybody else's artwork. We want to keep the table as clean as we can so we have less to clean when it's cleanup time. This is a great time to pause the video so students can color in their first section of the background. Now we need to do the table or the counter that our cake is on. I also have a plate. I'm going to make my table or my tablecloth lighter, a lighter color, but I still want it to contrast. And again, just go around the edge of your, I'm not going to clean this because I'm going to blend, and I'm going to do a scribbly motion, but I'm not going to do scribbly motion right next to the cake or the plate. I'm going to draw an outline or a thick protective wall of oil pastel around my cake and my plate and my shadow because I don't want to scribble on top. So I'm just gonna fill in my tablecloth with a scribbly texture, but make sure I leave my shadow. Can't really see what I'm doing because I'm using white. Whoops, I went over my cake. I'll just scrape it off. Notice how I am using two different oil pastels and lightly scribbling them with my scribble texture before I begin to blend. I'm using blue and white, and then because I want it to be light, I'm taking the white and going over with a thick layer using my circle motion to blend it all in. So Aurora, you have created great high contrast between the cake and the background, and you've created low contrast between the two parts of your background. If you would like to raise the contrast between the table and the wall, how would you choose to do that?
I was thinking I could just kind of draw this line more clearly between them as a kind of shadow on the wall.
Then what I would do is use a darker color. You might want to add a little bit of a much darker color. And then not use that color in the tablecloth. See how Aurora started with a dark color and then switched to a more muted green in their background so that it doesn't end up being a sharp outline. the shadow is blended up so that it's more like a value scale going from dark to light as you go up the wall. Good job blending with your oil pastel rather than your finger. I want to add some more color to my tablecloth, so I'm just going to add some dots of red and then blend those in. Actually, these dots would also be in the shadow, because a shadow is not going to be black. Nobody is allowed to use black for their shadow. The shadow is just a darker version of whatever it's sitting on. Actually, let's look at some Wayne Thiebaud paintings right now. Hey, that is not a Wayne Thiebaud painting. Come on, let's get back on track. All right. Thank you. Let's put on our detective hats again and look at those shadows. Pause to take a close look at those shadows and describe what we see. Great discussion, artists. Let's look at this Wayne Thiebaud painting entitled 4 Cupcakes. Now, Wayne Thiebaud was known for his exaggerated colors, and I want you to look carefully at the shadows of these 4 cupcakes. What do you see? Good job using art vocabulary in our discussions. While Aurora is drawing their tablecloth, I'm just going to show you how to do this kind of a frosting decoration. Again, I'm just going to pick 2 colors and I'm really just going to blend them. So maybe I'll just do the same colors I use for the flowers, which is red and white. And I'm just going to do the same line that I did and alternate between the colors. I'm leaving a white stripe. You guys know you can peel it. So I'm blending in this little road. Sometimes when I'm aiming in a line, I think of it as like driving on a road. Here I am driving on the bumpy road. You can see that just by coloring in the white between the red, it creates a range of value. You have the dark red, you have a very, very light red, and a range of reds in between, which makes it look 3-dimensional. Makes it look like frosting puffing out. We are ready to do the shadow portion of our tablecloths. Wayne Thiebaud kind of was creative with his colors. I think I'm going to add just a little yellow in mine as reflective light. I am cleaning my oil pastel on the back of my paper. Wayne Thiebaud had some lighter colors kind of in the middle of his shadows, and it really creates a beautiful reflective light. It's not just all one dark. So first off, I'm going to add my yellow, thinking about the crescent or moon shape of the shadow. I have a light blue tablecloth, so I should have a bluish shadow. We do want our shadows to be dark. We just want them to be creatively done. Now, I'm pretty sure that Wayne Thiebaud's actual shadows that he was looking at were not quite so colorful. When an artist makes choices that aren't based on reality of what he's seeing or they're seeing, that's called artistic license. That means if you ever do something and somebody in your art and somebody says, oh, well, that's not how it really looks, you can say, oh, well, I'm using artistic license. I can do it, however I want it to be. I'm going to see what lightly go over with the blue. Ooh, it's, of course, blue plus yellow is green, so I'm going to have some green. Ooh, that's a nice subtle shadow. My shadow is going to be colorful, I think. I'm going to be a little crazy and just experiment. I'm going to add some orange in my shadow, just using my artistic license. It might be a little too crazy of a shadow, but you know what? If you don't try it, you won't know. Now I have to color this in to blend it. Maybe I'll use the medium blue. White spots. I have to find and color in all the white spots. So really, I'm going to go over and just see what reflected colors pop out. Oh yeah. This is looking nice. You never know. Sometimes you experiment and you like it. Sometimes you experiment and you don't like it. Next time, I think I might blend it all in using a white oil pastel. Maybe one of you will do that. Experimentation is not always about making something you like in the end. It's about learning what you like and what you don't like. Now I did notice in Wayne Thiebaud's shadow that it wasn't a harsh line like that. You actually have it sort of dark and then it gets lighter. So I think I'm gonna do that too. So I need a lighter blue. So maybe I'll use this blue. And I'm just gonna go around the shadow a little. So I'm making my shadow a little bigger. And then I'm gonna blend it, I guess, with the white. See what happens. Soften the edges a little. I can't go all the way in with my white, or I could actually. My shadow would become much, much lighter. Ooh, wait. I gotta fill in this white part, but I need dark blue. I guess you're done. Yeah. So I'm gonna show how to do the plate. If you do not have a plate, you may begin finishing your background and shadow. Remember to work silently so that the people who need to watch this part can hear it. So I'm going to go along, of course, the edges. I don't want this to be the same yellow as my cake. And because I'm going to be adding green to it, it will be not the same. It will be kind of a chartreuse. Now, of course, there's also a shadow on the plate. To be sure that you cover all the white of your paper, be sure to outline your shapes before coloring them in. And now I want to make sure that I do have a little shadow where the cake meets the plate. So now I can blend that out a little bit. Aurora has decided to darken their shadow right up near where the cake touches the table. And it's the same with the plate. My plate is going to be darker closest to the cake. Now I need to go back to the shadow that falls onto my plate. I'm going to go back to my dark color. I'm going to start by drawing the outline of the shadow, but I want to make sure the shadow is a different color than the shadow that's on the table. So once I get part of the shadow drawn, I'm going to go back to my lighter colors, my lighter plate colors, and blend it out so that the shadow on the plate is visible. We can really see it. We can't wait to see how you finish your cake drawing. Yay!